I respect the hell out of Julian Edelman. Don't you? A guy hangs up his cleats yesterday. That guy was nails. I hate that the debate yesterday became, is Julian Edelman a Hall of Famer? And here's why I hate it. Because he's not. He's not. And if that becomes the discussion, then you spend your time talking about his career by pointing out all of the things he didn't do. Julian Edelman is a player who you should point out the things he did do. This was a 7th-round pick quarterback who came to the Patriots and became basically like a Swiss Army knife. He did everything. And he was as valuable to that team as just about any player they had whose name wasn't Tom Brady during that entire run. That entire run. He's one of 7 wide receivers to win Super Bowl MVP. He always came up huge in the biggest games. Now, I don't mean to knock him, but the receiver who was ahead of him is ahead of him on the all-time receptions list for the Patriots is Wes Welker. Welker is number 1 on the Patriots all-time list in catches, and Edelman is 2. The biggest difference is in the playoffs, Welker is the one you remember for the bad moments. Guy who never dropped a ball, dropped big plays in Super Bowls. Edelman never did. Edelman was awesome. Edelman is on that list of players who came up huge in the biggest spots. So the rest of his career, he was never the best receiver in the NFL. He was never anything like that. So I don't want to talk about whether he's a Hall of Famer or not. I want to talk about a guy who was just nails. He was just big in big games. And sports are filled with guys like that. Not the best in the game, but yet indelible in the history of the sport nonetheless. That's what I want to say today when we talk about Julian Edelman. That's the conversation I want to have about him. By the way, the only wide receivers in the Hall of Fame whose careers began since 1990 are Marvin Harrison, Randy Moss, T.O., Isaac Bruce, and Calvin Johnson. I mean, these guys they don't get into the Hall of Fame if you're a wide receiver. It's almost impossible. So to say that Edelman is not a Hall of Famer is not to knock his career. But again, that's not what I wanted to talk about today. I want to respectfully tip my cap in the direction of a guy he's one of the, that's what's great about sports. The guy of whom nothing was expected, who winds up having an unbelievable career. There's a player that I will always love like that named Wayne Chrebet. Any Jet fan knows who I'm talking about. Edelman had a much greater career than Chrebet, basically because he played on much better teams, so he had a chance to do things like be a Super Bowl MVP. But I love guys like that. A guy like Tom Waddle in Chicago, who now hosts afternoons on ESPN 1000, longtime good friend of mine. Didn't have a career anywhere comparable to Julian Edelman, but he was another one of those guys. Never belonged in the NFL. You look at him, you don't think that guy looks like an NFL receiver, but he made himself into a good player. I love guys like that. And Edelman may be the best ever. I mean, he may be the best of all time of guys like that. So an enormous salute today to Julian Edelman. Congratulations on an outstanding career. Thank you for watching ESPN on YouTube. For live streaming sports and premium content, subscribe to ESPN+.